When my daughter told me I wasn't welcome at her house for Christmas, I nodded, walked to my truck, and made a single phone call. By January, their mortgage payments were history. That was just the start of my plan. Arrogance had to be answered, and justice would find its way. You won't believe what came next. Before we dive deeper, please subscribe to our channel and share where you're reading from in the comments. I could make my famous pozole this year, I said, sinking into Elena's plush velvet sofa. The one with the roasted chiles your mother always raved about. Remember how she'd say it outdid her abuela's recipe? The words lingered in the air, mingling with the glow of Elena's lavender-scented candles. Elena shifted beside me, her diamond earrings glinting under the light of their 10-foot Christmas tree. Her posture stiffened, arms crossing like a shield. "Dad, I'm sorry, but you can't come here for Christmas." The words landed like a punch to the chest. I blinked, sure I'd misheard. "What do you mean? Why not?" Eleanor's gaze dropped to the glass coffee table, the one I'd helped her choose when her husband Victor decided their old one wasn't elegant enough. "Victor's parents are coming, and they'd prefer if you weren't here." My hands turned to ice. "They'd prefer," I echoed. "It's just simpler this way, Dad. You know how Victor's family is about their traditions." Her voice shrank with each word, as if she were folding into herself. I scanned the living room, the linen drapes I'd paid for when Eleanor complained about nosy neighbors, the oak floors funded by my home equity loan, the custom lighting that had drained my savings. Every corner of this house carried my sacrifices, my love for my daughter. "Their traditions," I said slowly. "And what are those, Elena?" She flinched. "Dad, please don't make this harder than it is." Through the dining room doorway, I spotted Victor's new espresso machine, a 1,500 gadget Elena needed for her short-lived barista phase. My money, gathering dust since November. Where am I supposed to go for Christmas then? My voice was softer than I meant it to be. Eleanor's face crumpled. "Maybe you could visit Aunt Carla, or we could do something the weekend after." The weekend after. As if Christmas were a dentist appointment to reschedule. I stood, my back creaking from years of carrying this weight alone. "I see." "Dad, wait." But I was already heading for the door, past the family photos where my presents faded with each frame, past the hall closet stuffed with Eleanor's designer coats. "Eleanor," I said without turning back, "tell Victor's parents Feliz Navidad for me." The December chill stung my face as I stepped outside. Behind me, Eleanor's voice called my name once, then the door clicked shut. Final. Absolute. In my truck, the engine off, I watched Christmas lights flicker in windows of homes I'd never belong in. My phone buzzed, probably Elena with empty apologies. I ignored it, started the engine, and drove into the night. Leaving behind the house I'd funded but could never call home. The heater buzzed against the cold as I wound through Northside streets, each corner heavy with memories of the man I used to be, the one who thought family was everything, who'd give his last cent for his daughter's smile. That man was a fool. At a stoplight on 12th and Pine, I watched a mother load gifts into her minivan, her kids' faces pressed against the glass, glowing with excitement. That used to be Eleanor and me, before Victor, before I became a walking checkbook with inconvenient feelings. The numbers started spinning in my head, $3,200 a month for 6 years. I'd stopped tallying last summer when the total broke me. $230,400, more than Sophia and I had saved for our retirement, gone. I pressed the gas too hard as the light turned green, the truck growling in sync with my anger. Maple Street, where I'd refinanced our house, Sophia's and mine, for their down payment. The banker had warned me, "Mr. Rivera, this is a big risk for someone else's home." Someone else's home, not my daughter's future. Lincoln Avenue, the credit union where I'd taken a second loan when Victor's startup tanked. "Just temporary, Dad," he'd said. Eleanor had nodded, her 900 handbag slung over her shoulder, calculating my generosity's worth. Nothing, as it turned out. I pulled into my driveway, the cracked asphalt I couldn't fix because every dollar went to their perfect life. The porch light flickered, another repair I'd delayed. Inside, the house felt empty without Sophia's warmth, without the family gatherings that would never happen again. My phone rang, Victor's name on the screen. likely ready to justify why I didn't fit their holiday aesthetic. I answered on the fifth ring, letting him sweat. Carlos, Victor's voice oozed fake warmth, the tone he used when asking for temporary help with their taxes or car payments. I heard about the mix-up with Elena. Mix-up? I leaned against my counter, still in my jacket. No mix-up, Victor. You made it clear I'm not welcome. Look, I get it sounds harsh, but my parents have their way of doing things. They're particular about holiday vibes. Vibes, I repeated. What vibes are those? A pause. I heard shopping bags crinkling, probably Eleanor's latest splurge. They're not used to your style, Carlos. All that loud salsa music, the spicy food. They're refined people conversations about politics, books, culture. The words cut deeper than a blade. 6 years of swallowing insults, pretending not to notice Victor's family treating me like a hired hand. My style, I said evenly. You mean the food you devoured every weekend when your bank account was dry? The tamales you said were better than your mom's. That was different. We appreciated it then, but now, with my parents, now you can't have the Mexican handyman at your fancy table. The warmth vanished from his voice. Don't make this about race, Carlos. It's about class. My father's a Yale grad. My mother's fluent in 3 languages. They winter in Aspen. What would you bring to the table? Stories about pouring concrete. Heat surged in my chest, but my voice stayed calm. I built a business from scratch, employed 40 people, paid more taxes than your dad earned in a decade. Money isn't everything, Carlos. Breeding matters, education matters. Sophia knew her place better than you do. The line went silent. He'd crossed a line I didn't know existed until he trampled it. What did you say about my wife? She blended in. Didn't make waves. Understood some spaces weren't for her. My grip on the phone tightened. Sophia had more grace in one smile than your entire family will ever have. Oh, come on. She was a seamstress who got lucky. At least she stayed quiet about it. Victor, my voice was unrecognizable, low and final. This conversation is done. We're done pretending to be family. You can't just... Done. I hung up, set the phone down, and felt the air clear. I opened the folder I'd ignored for months. Bank statements, loan papers, 6 years of transfers that had drained me while they lived like kings. Time to stop the bleeding. The papers spread across my table like a crime scene. 6 years of statements, each showing 3,200 siphoned from my account to theirs. I pulled out my calculator. Year 1, 38,400. Year 2, another 38,400. By year 4, I'd stopped replacing my shoes. Year 5, I'd switched to store-brand coffee. Year 6, I'd skipped doctor visits to cover their emergencies. Total, 230,400, not counting the 50,000 down payment, the new deck, or the essential appliances. I stared at the numbers until they blurred. Sophia's inheritance, my 401k, the emergency fund we'd built for our future gone, poured into a house where I wasn't welcome for Christmas. I dialed my bank. Customer service, this is Amanda. How can I help? I need to cancel an automatic transfer, I said, voice steady. Account number and verification, please. I gave the details, hearing her type. I see the transfer, Mr. Rivera, 3,200 monthly to Chase Bank, account ending in 8192. How long have you been making it? 6 years. The words tasted like ash. And you want it cancelled immediately? I glanced around my kitchen, peeling linoleum, leaky faucets, all the repairs I'd delayed for their dream home. Immediately. Done. Anything else? No, I said, the word feeling like a door unlocking. That's all. I hung up, the silence in my house louder than ever. Outside, Northside's Christmas lights glowed in windows of families who didn't ban their own. For the first time in 6 years, my budget would balance. I could fix my roof, buy real coffee, maybe take a trip. I gathered the statements, lit my fireplace, and watched 6 years of sacrifice burn to ash. The fire warmed my face, brighter than I'd felt since Sophia passed. My phone buzzed. Elena, probably begging for money. I ignored it, poured a glass of añejo tequila I'd saved for a moment that never came, and toasted the empty room. Merry Christmas to me, I said, and meant it. The next morning, sunlight streamed through my windows as I sipped coffee that wasn't the cheap stuff. My phone rang at 10:15. Victor. Carlos, he said, irritation barely masked. I need you to pick up my parents at Northside Airport. Flight from Seattle, lands at 1:30. I set my mug down. Victor, did you forget yesterday's talk? Look, we need to be practical. My parents need a ride, and you're free during the day. The nerve was staggering. After banning me from Christmas, he expected me to play driver. And you're asking because... Because that's what family does, Carlos. They help out. Besides, you're not my equal. You're too small to compete with me. So get in your truck and do it. The final insult wrapped in a demand. What airline? I asked quietly. Delta, Flight 622, baggage claim 2. And Carlos, they expect someone who can handle their bags properly. Don't embarrass us. He hung up without a thank you. I sipped my coffee, opened the crossword. 6 across, retribution, 10 letters. I'd figure it out later. At 1:45, I was in my recliner with a fresh cup of chamomile tea and the Northside Gazette. The crossword was done. Retribution was comeuppance. My phone buzzed Victor's name. I let it ring. By 2:30, it buzzed again. A text. Carlos, where are you? My parents are waiting. I flipped to the arts section. The local theatre was doing a Christmas carol. Fitting. By 3 hours, 6 missed calls. I organized my toolbox, something I hadn't touched in months because I was too busy bailing them out. At 3:20, an unknown number called, probably Victor's parents. I let it go. By 4:00, the buzzing was relentless. I unplugged my landline, turned off my phone, and made a chorizo sandwich with a side of caldo food I hadn't cooked in years because I couldn't afford the ingredients. The meal tasted like defiance. Somewhere across town, 3 people were likely fuming in an airport parking lot, arguing over Uber fees. My caldo was delicious. At 4:45, someone pounded on my door, the kind of banging that shook the walls. Through the peephole, I saw Victor's parents, Richard and Margaret, with Eleanor behind them. I opened the door. Richard stormed in, face crimson. What the hell is wrong with you? We waited at that airport for 3 hours. Margaret followed, her pearl necklace askew. This is disgraceful, Carlos, utterly uncivilized. Elena, coat rumpled, hissed, you humiliated us. We had to take a 50 Uber because you bailed. Get out of my house, I said, voice like steel. They froze. Excuse me, Richard's face darkened. You don't get to talk to us like that after what you pulled. This is my house, I repeated, holding the door open. Out, now. Margaret stepped forward, her voice dripping venom. You don't grasp the severity of your actions, Carlos. My husband knows people, business leaders, city officials. You can't treat us like this. This was a lesson, I cut in, about your arrogance and how you treat people you think are beneath you. Eleanor gaped. A lesson? Who do you think you are? I'm the man who stopped being your ATM and errand boy. I gestured to the door. Class dismissed. Richard pointed at me. You're messing with the wrong people, old man. I've got connections that'll make your life hell. Is that a threat, Richard? It's a fact. Margaret smirked. Actions have consequences, Carlos, and yours will be very public. Elena tugged her father's arm. Let's go, he's not worth it. They left, Richard muttering, You'll regret this. I locked the door, the silence cleaner than ever. Their threats lingered, but something stronger stirred anticipation. 3 days later, the Northside Gazette's front page screamed, Local contractor abandons elderly couple at airport in holiday chaos. My photo, grainy from my business website, stared back. Richard and Margaret, retired financial consultants in their late 50s, claimed I'd left them stranded in freezing conditions during a storm warning. It was 50F and clear. The article, penned by Laura Bennett, lifestyle editor, painted me as erratic, possibly unhinged. No mention of the Christmas ban or 6 years of financial exploitation. Richard had used his finance connections to plant the story, a calculated hit to my reputation in a small city where image was everything. I folded the paper, my mind sharpening. They'd gone public. Fine. I'd play that game. I opened my laptop, pulling up Richard, Margaret, and Elena's social media. Richard, ex-bank VP, Rotary Club board member. Margaret's Pinterest was a shrine to curated elegance galas. Lake house vacations, all funded partly by me. Eleanor's Instagram flaunted our dream home with photos of the patio I'd paid for. Victor's LinkedIn connected to Laura Bennett, the article's author, through 2 mutual finance contacts. Amateur move. I compiled my evidence, 6 years of bank statements, $230,400 in mortgage payments, $50,000 down payment, $12,000 for appliances. Screenshots of Elena's posts showing off my funded luxuries. The article, annotated with corrections, lie next to Richard's storm claim, omission by the lack of context about my support. December 24th was circled on my calendar. Not for Christmas, but for justice. Elena's Instagram announced a Christmas Eve dinner for 10 friends, neighbors, Rotary Club members. Perfect audience. I printed 10 evidence packets, dressed in my best charcoal suit, and drove to their riverfront home at 6:30 p.m. The house glowed, cars packed the street. I walked in, uninvited, briefcase in hand. Laughter stopped as 10 faces turned to me. Elena dropped her fork. Victor paled. Richard and Margaret froze. "Good evening," I said, setting my briefcase on their teak buffet. "Hope you don't mind me crashing your Christmas party." Eleanor snapped. "Carlos, this is unacceptable. Leave." I pulled out the first packet. "I think your guests should know who paid for this house, this dinner, this life you're flaunting." A man in a sweater vest frowned. "What's he talking about?" I handed out packets. 6 years, $230,400 in mortgage payments, plus renovations, appliances, everything here. The room went quiet as guests flipped through bank statements. A woman gasped at the numbers. "Elena, why didn't you mention this?" "It's complicated," Elena stammered. "He offered to help." I laid the article on the table. "Let's talk about what you told the press." Faces hardened as they read my notes. "Richard used his connections to paint me as a monster," I said. "Notice how I'm erratic for not picking them up after they banned me from Christmas for not fitting their vibe." A woman in a silk scarf spoke. "Margaret, you didn't say he wasn't welcome." Richard blustered. "He's unstable." "Unstable?" I countered. "I've paid $3,200 a month while you mocked my heritage and called my wife a servant." The room froze. The man in the sweater vest stood. "Richard, is this true?" Margaret stammered. "We didn't. You said my food was too ethnic, my conversation too common for your refined guests." A guest shook her head. "This is appalling. You took his money and humiliated him?" I closed my briefcase. "Enjoy your dinner. It's the last one I'm funding." As I left, voices rose, accusations, questions. The sound of their world unraveling was sweeter than any carol. A letter arrived in April, certified mail, heavy with consequence. Notice of default, $9,600 in arrears, 14 days to pay or face foreclosure. I set it aside, sipping coffee that tasted like spring. My phone had been buzzing for weeks. Elena's number blocked after her first frantic voicemail, Richard and Margaret's social stock plummeting after their Christmas disgrace. Victor knocked on my door one May evening, looking 10 years older. "Dad," he said, "we need to talk." I let him in, noting his wrinkled blazer, the defeat in his eyes. My house was new fresh paint, a leather couch, repairs funded by my first free paychecks. "Nice place," he said. "Thanks," I replied, offering coffee he declined. "I'm sorry, Dad, for Christmas, the article, how we treated you." "Go on." "I didn't know about the story. When I heard what they said about Mom," he faltered. "What did they say about Sophia?" "That she knew her place, stayed quiet." My jaw clenched. "You should have stood up to them." "I know." Silence hung heavy. "The house is in foreclosure," he said. "I know. We can't pay without my money," I finished, "while your in-laws treated me like dirt." "It's over $230,000, he whispered. $242,672, I corrected. I counted. "I'm so sorry, Dad. You can't fix it, Victor. That money's gone. So are those years. Can we start over? You want me to pay again?" His eyes dimmed. "We're losing everything." "Figure it out," I said. "Get a job, sell the house, stop living a lie." He cried quietly. "I lost you, didn't I? You didn't lose me. You pushed me away. There's a difference. Can you forgive me?" "I did months ago, but forgiveness doesn't mean going back. If you want a relationship, earn it. Show respect. Choose right over easy." He nodded, understanding dawning. The house? Not my problem. He stood, straighter now. Seeing you at Christmas, standing up for yourself. I was proud. Good, I said. Maybe there's hope. After he left, I poured tequila and stepped onto my porch. Spring bloomed in Northside new leaves, warm air. At 64, with Sophia gone 9 years, I'd wasted 6 being a doormat. No more. My phone buzzed Carla, inviting me to Sunday dinner with her kids. Wouldn't miss it, I replied. Real family was people who wanted you there. The tequila tasted like freedom, and the future was as bright as I'd make it.